Before I worked for a carrier, I was an agent. And I remember when I sold, most of my members couldn't afford to go to physical therapy. They would tell me, oh, I can't afford to go 2-3 times a week at $20, $25 copay a pop, right? So with our plan, when you talk to your members and someone that goes to physical therapy quite often, that zero copay is going to be a blessing, right? So that's a huge savings. That's where we're strong. I had one of my agents, she was telling me, her Banner member, because our benefits kind of decreased this year, they said, oh, I want to go with Blue Cross. She said, absolutely, I'm happy to switch you to Blue Cross, but let's go side by side and make sure it's a good fit for you. So this member happened to go to physical therapy quite often. They go to the urgent care quite often and some other things. So it turned out actually Banner was a better fit. And it's not always going to be that way, right? And we know that Banner's not for everybody, but it's not always going to be just looking at who has the lowest copays and the most dental, right? You kind of want to look at what does your member utilize the most to see which plan is the right plan for them. So let's see, OTC benefits. So we took a big hit this year, $25 every 3 months with no rollover. Word on the street is we're going to raise that for next year. We're going to raise that OTC back up. We're going to raise our dental back up. That's not set in stone, but that's what we're talking about right now. Specialist visit is still really competitive. We went from $0 to $15. So it's $15 copay for a specialist visit compared to the other carriers. That's still really competitive. But another strong suit that I like to point out with Banner is our drug coverage. Most of the carriers have a deductible for tiers 3 and 4. We have a zero deductible. Not only that, if your member is willing to use mail order pharmacy, they get 3 months for the price of 2 months for tiers 1 through 4. On a tier 3 medication, that's a $47 savings every 3 months. And a tier 4 medication, that's $100 savings every 3 months. And on the seniors on the fixed income, that's a huge savings. So if they're willing to use mail order and they have a tier 4 med, instead of it being $300 for 3 months supply, it's only $200. So just keep that in mind with Banner. Oh, one thing I want to point out with Banner, like a lot of people will automatically say, members and agents, I don't want to just use Banner doctors, right? Well, we have a lot more than Banner doctors on our plan. So of course you have access to the entire Banner system, and not all the carriers do. They may have Banner, but they may only have some of our facilities. They might not have the whole Banner network, right? Of course, we have the whole Banner network, but we also have HonorHealth. We've added HonorHealth this year. We have 1,000 of the doctors for HonorHealth. So you want to make sure you look them up because we don't have all of them, but we have 1,000. And then we added the hospitals. We have all the main hospitals, Scottsdale North, Scottsdale Osborne. It's a misconception. People think that we only have Banner. 75% of our specialists are non-Banner private